morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is that you're watching this. Oh, that's really dark. Let me. There, a little better. Ah, time change. Anyways, ah, how was your day? How was your week? Did you do anything fun this week? We did a couple of market things. There were a few market vendors around. Bentley and I went to. We Bentley has this little Christmas sweater on. If you can see, we have this little tree. We did put a battery in to light it up. I don't know if you can see the light or not with it, but yes, and he has a little Christmas sweater on. One of Sean's colleagues said they drew names a couple of years ago at a clinic he worked at a few years ago, and she got his name, and so instead of getting Sean something, she got Bentley something, so which we're all for anyways. So she got him a Christmas sweater, some treats, and little small plush, so little toys for him. But yes, so and then we went walking around. We went to the store. There's this home store that he really likes. I think it's just local to the state we're in right now. And so we walked around, was looking at the Christmas vintage stuff and the furniture and everything. And because you can special order things out of there. And a lot of the stuff is just vintage. It's really neat and nice. And so we did one lap around there. We were getting ready to go out the door. He didn't want to leave. He wanted to do another lap. So we did another lap around the store. Then we went to a bookstore and we walked around the bookstore. So he had a lot of fun with that. But so what are you drinking this morning? I am drinking in my Christmas mug with Rudolph and Clarice. I'm drinking peppermint leaves from Stephen Smith with organic honey and organic stevia. So, yes. So, I thought we'd do something a little fun and different today since it is Christmas week. I apologize. I forgot to say Happy Hanukkah last week. I forgot that Monday was the second day of Hanukkah. If you celebrate Hanukkah, Happy Hanukkah. Happy holidays for whatever holiday you celebrate. There's a lot within this time frame within December and the next month or two. I think Kwanzaa falls in January, if I'm not mistaken, and then some other holidays in there as well. So happy holidays. We celebrated Christmas, so I figured do some Christmas traditions and stories. I'd love to hear your Christmas traditions or stories or holiday traditions. It doesn't have to be Christmas, whatever holiday you celebrate. Definitely put those in the comments with some of the questions and stuff that I talk about or things I talk about. Please, love to I love to hear about different cultures and how people celebrate, and to me that's just so fascinating. Just to learn how people celebrate is interesting. So figured to start off with. So as a child, our Christmas traditions, we were, for New Year's Eve, oh my God, Christmas Eve, we always did like family presents, what we got each other. So it was just me, my mom, and my dad. So for Christmas Eve, we always got, or did, our present exchange, what we got each other for Christmas. And then Christmas morning is what Santa brought us or brought me. And then we would go to my grandmother's. So my mom's side of the family, which now is about an hour away, a little over an hour away. Then before they built the highway, it was like an hour and a half to 2 hour drive, because you took a bunch of back roads into like all these little small towns to get where she was. She was at the foothill of the mountain, or my grandmother, my mom's side of the family lives at like the foothill of the mountains. So yes. So and then with her family, we always drew names. So we had like rules to follow. So you had to be 18 to get your name put in the pot, and then you couldn't get your family. Like you couldn't draw anybody with your family, so you had to get somebody from one of the other families. Because my mom has like 3 brothers, and then so you get somebody from one of their families, and then of course you got the kids Christmas presents. Well, at the time it was just me and 2 of my cousins, so it was just basically 3 kids under 18. And then so then, we exchanged gifts. I always loved going to my grandmother's, and my uncle and I would play Santa and pass out the gifts. That was like one of my favorite things to do. So I always loved doing that with him. And then one of my earliest Christmas memories was, God, I guess maybe it's like 4 or 5, maybe. It was when Barbie was like the huge thing, like Barbie's Dream House. That was like the thing, right? So I remember waking up one Christmas morning and there was like Barbie's Dream House all built and everything. And this is like that thing you had to build the things and put the little stickers on. And evidently, my mom said she had sat up later on in life. My mom told me she had stayed up like all night putting those little stickers on. And so, on the Barbie Dream House. So that I remember, that's one of my earliest Christmas memories I have. And then I do, let's see. As far as believing in Santa, yes, I still believe in Santa, but less. When I got a little older, my parents taught me, there was a girl that I had went to school with and I played ball with, and somehow my parents found out that her and her siblings weren't going to have Christmas. I think she had like 2 younger siblings at the time. They weren't going to have Christmas. So my parents at the time were fortunate enough, and I don't know if they just bought things or if some people had gathered together to get things. I don't remember exactly how it was because I was young, but I do remember going with my father over to her house on Christmas Eve to give them their presents. And at that time, like that's when my dad was like, okay, this is what Santa Claus is. It's giving to those who, for whatever reason, may not have Christmas at that time. They've fallen on hard times or something that happens. Things happen. So that's where he's like, Santa's not this guy in a red suit, but who walks around in a red suit, but Santa does exist. Like he exists in all of us who goes around and gives to people in need. And so literally after that, every year we kind of we always did like the angel tree, or we always did something to help someone out in need after that. So we played Santa. But I will say this. So when the house we lived in, when my parents first moved to Charlotte, after they lived with my father's sister, and then they lived in my and then they rented a house. So we were close to the neighbors. We lived in the house for a few years, and then they ended up buying a house a couple of blocks up the street in the same neighborhood, so farther into the neighborhood. And we, and so at Christmas, Christmas Eve, we would go and take our neighbors, our old neighbors, a little something. And so I remember, and I think it was me and my dad. But I'm not 100% sure. But for some reason, I think it was my father that was with me, and we were standing there and we were knocking on their door. They had one of those little side doors. We were knocking on their door, and I heard sleigh bells, like it would jing, 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 like just like, and it was just one of those, like it was just a beat with it, and there was nothing around, so it's not like a car like drove by or anything. And I looked at him, I was like, "Did you hear that?" And he was like, "Hear what?" I was like, "It was sleigh bells." And so I was like, "No, like hear it." And so that's why, like, I know there wasn't anything around, because my dad would have been like, "Well, that car drove by," or, "Oh, there's something," like he would have heard it. And so, so to me, you know, believing is seeing, not seeing is believing. So yes, there's a part of me that you know, it's hard to say that there isn't a Santa with with sleigh bells for that. But that's me. Think I'm weird if you want. I don't care. But yes. And then as I got older, you know, we still did the Christmas Eve gifts for us. But then because learning that, you know, Santa was what it was, so then like we started giving like the kind of bigger gifts, or a little bit more meaningful gifts on Christmas morning from Santa for each of us. So like my mom would got something, or my dad, or you know, me, you know, so just kind of like a surprise, unexpected gift that we didn't expect, that, you know, meant, you know, I guess all of our gifts meant a lot, but you know what I mean. And so that's what we ended up doing. Um, Funny though, when I got older, we got busier for Christmas. So, like, you had Thanksgiving. So, of course, you know, my mom would help cook for Thanksgiving for my grandmothers. We would bake my grandmothers for Thanksgiving. And then that weekend, we decorated for Christmas, because that was the only time we had time to decorate for Christmas, was the weekend after Thanksgiving. My mom and I did not do Black Friday. I think my first ever Black Friday was when I actually worked in retail. So my mom and I did not do Black Friday. Um, and then so that the weekend after Thanksgiving was decorating for Christmas. Then that next weekend, we would go to the countryside of South Carolina and go to a pig picking, to a friend of the family's pig picking. For those of you that don't know what a pig picking is, so they stay up overnight cooking the hog over the fire, and you have a whole bunch of the sides, and all these sides and everything. You'd have deer meat, or venison, deer meat, and then you have the pork from the pig that was cooked on the fire overnight. Like, and then sometimes they would cook other meats with it, and you know, with the on the fire. But like, you had like this big, huge, yes. So the first weekend in December, we did the friends pig picking. The second weekend in December, my dad's oldest brother, my uncle, he started doing pig pickings as well. So the second December, we were back down in second weekend in December, we were back down in South Carolina doing another pig picking, and that's when we kind of did Christmas with my dad's side of the family. And then the third weekend typically was like the weekend before Christmas. So of course my mom was running around getting things done. She always had the week of Christmas off. I don't know how she managed that. When my mom was always took one of her vacation weeks, like the week before Christmas or the week of Christmas. And so my mom did a lot of cooking. So she did a lot of like candy, or what you would call candy, but like baked goods. So she did like chocolate oatmeal cookies, which was like my favorite. Nobody made a chocolate oatmeal cookie like my mom. And then she would try these different things. They had this thing like called Christmas crack. So it was like white chocolate pretzel and some bunch of candy mixed up. And then my mom she would start testing things out or doing different things. So she would do like this one dessert where she would take chocolate chip cookies, dip them in milk, and do a layer of chocolate chip cookies, and then a layer of whipped cream, and then a layer of chocolate chip cookies dipped in milk, and then a layer of whipped cream. And she would just do that to the top of the bowl till the last layer was whipped cream. And of course, with the milk soaking in the bowl, that was so good. Love that. And then she would do Ritz crackers with peanut butter and dip them in chocolate. So much my mom would do. But yes, did all that. So we ended up getting busy and just, and my dad's birthday, my dad is a Christmas baby, but he was born December the 23rd. So happy early birthday, Daddy. Yes, he was born the 23rd. So tomorrow is his birthday. So tell him happy birthday. But growing up, people had always, this is both your Christmas gift and your birthday gift. Like it always got mixed in. My mom always made sure that it was separate. She would make sure it wasn't wrapped in any kind of Christmas type paper. Like it was wrapped in like birthday paper. And he got it on his birthday. He got a birthday card. Everything was separate. My grandmother even did the same thing. Like she would always send him a birthday card. And then then of course my parents got a Christmas card from my grandmother. So yes. Happy birthday, Daddy. And then one Christmas I didn't spend at home. I was actually on the cruise ship. That was a lot of fun. I miss my mom. My mom didn't like me not being home for Christmas. I get it. But it was really good experience. It's actually where this Goofy came from stocking. I don't know if you can see it back there. And the little Stitch is actually in a Santa suit that's kind of stuck in the Mickey stock, mini stocking, Minnie Mouse stocking. So I will say, growing up where it's cold in winter and then being somewhere where it's warm and hot and tropical on Christmas, it was really completely different experience, I will say. I wasn't used to that. It was just something different. So I always wondered how it was vice versa for people who were used to spending, a warm Christmas goes into like a cold Christmas. So any Christmas traditions you have, places you want to go for Christmas. Sean and I have talked about, there's so many different places we want to go and spend Christmas. My mom always wanted to go to New York City for Christmas. We never got there with her, but I want to go too. So Sean and I talk about one day we'll go and do Christmas in New York City. So in memory of my mom. And there's like different places all over the world to go to different countries and how they celebrate Christmas. Like I would love to go and do that. And we've talked about that. So now that my grandmother passed, last Christmas was the first Christmas without my grandmother. So we're working on getting a list together to go do those things. But I will say, of course, one of the best Christmas presents ever was this little one. If you watched the past videos, you know that the first time I met him was our first Christmas without my mom. My cousin had him, and him and I bonded. But the one thing I didn't say about that Christmas, which outside of like Bentley, obviously we greatly appreciate it, but something my cousin did. So my mom was a huge Panthers fan. Well, I was right there with her. My mom got me into football. My mom got me into Panthers. My mom was friends with some of the players, and huge Panther fan. The first Christmas without my mom, my cousin decided at that point, we started doing white elephant gifts or dirty Santa, whatever you want to call it, at my grandmother's because, one of the families got so big and then, of course, losing people. And, so we started doing the dirty Santa white elephant gift. And she made it Panthers theme that year. Again, I think for the second time, I could have sworn we did a Panthers theme the year before, too, with my mom there. But my my cousin did in memory of my mom a Panthers theme, and of course my dad, Sean, and I just didn't want to participate that year. And I don't know if my dad said something to my grandmother or if I did and not thinking about it. My grandmother said something to my cousin or whatever, but my cousin ended up getting purchasing 3 gifts from us so we could participate because she knew we didn't want to participate or just wasn't feeling it. And I greatly appreciate that. And the fact that they did the Panthers, we did Panthers trivia with my mom, and just it was a lot of fun, and greatly appreciated that. And of course, this little one over here, even though it's sleeping, even though this is his show, I know. Do you see? It's his show, and I'm just the co-host, but he sleeps, right? But anyway, please, no. 1, don't stress over the holidays. 2, tell me about some of your traditions or places that you want to go and spend, somewhere you'd like to go and spend Christmas, or if someplace you went that you loved and think that we ought to go. And when I say we, anybody watching this, so not necessarily just me and Sean, but anybody watching this. But yes, definitely, please leave in the comments. I want to hear about them. Or any places that you recommend. So, and especially your traditions, stories, anything. All right. Well, with that being said, I will let you go. Enjoy your holidays. Stay safe. Don't stress, but do something for you. And remember, if somebody asks you if you want something, what do you want for Christmas? If there's a place that you want to get a massage, just ask for a gift card to that specific place. But make sure you do the research and tell them where you want it. Some of these things that we talked about that you might want to do or try, but just don't have the money, understandably, or whatever. When somebody asks you what you want for Christmas, tell them you want a gift card there. But do the research to find out where you want to go first, okay? All right. Until then, until next week. Happy holidays, stay safe, and we'll see you next week under the willow tree.